The following was recorded in front of a live studio audience at the Studio 21 Podcast Café. This is the United Podcast Network.
Want to shake up your small business marketing? I mean, really shake it up.
Studio 21 Podcast Café.
Have you been thinking about doing your own podcast?
Studio 21 Podcast Café.
Would you like to take your business to the next level?
Studio 21 Podcast Café.
This is the golden age of podcasting, and it's time to stop thinking and start doing.
Studio 21 Podcast Café.
Get your message heard 24/7, 365, over and over again.
Studio 21 Podcast Café.
Welcome to the 21st century.
Welcome to the Studio 21 Podcast Café.
Here's the creator and host of the Studio 21 Podcast Café, David Garofalo.
Welcome everybody, and welcome back to the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe. This is a 21-minute or less weekly podcast to help you get your message out, grow your business, and build your bottom line. Let me help you bring your marketing and advertising and promotions into the 21st century. My name is David Garofalo. I've been doing podcasting since 2010 and created a six-figure income from doing so. This is a 21-minute or less podcast, so let's start the clock. And here we go. Today, live in front of your ears, we are putting together a podcast, and today I'll share with you what I know and what I don't know. Welcome back, everybody. We're putting this podcast together. We talked about doing this for the past couple weeks, the do-over, a new attempt to do something after a previous attempt has been unsuccessful or unsatisfactory. So it has been unsatisfactory, my previous podcast. The purpose is to make it better, and in this case, I was very successful with the podcast that I still do, The Cigar Authority, but listen, it's been downloaded 2 million times this year. I've monetized it deep into a six-figure income and created reoccurring revenue well into $250,000 a year. Despite all that success, I have made mistakes. With this do-over, new podcast altogether, I'm going to try it out again, totally different subject, and see if it can be successful. As I said, it's risky because if I fail, I'm going to fail right in front of your ears. That's what we talked about last week. I decided that the podcast was going to be the Snack Authority. I also decided that the show will be 25 minutes per week, and it will be about snacks, of course. If it's a Snack Authority, what else is it about? Snacks. I got a name, the Snack Authority. All I did is take the Cigar Authority, inserted the word snack instead of it, so I didn't put a lot of effort into it, and I've been working on a logo. I did it myself. For good or bad, this is it. So here it is up on the video right now. And if you're listening to the podcast, you actually can't see it. When you go home, not while you're driving, please, when you go home, go to YouTube and find Studio 21 Podcast Cafe, and you can see the podcast. So here I am. It's a vodcast also, which is video on demand. Now, we brought this up in previous episodes, but I'll say it again. The vodcast, the video on demand segment of this, is not for people to really watch. In this case, I wanted to see what the logo looked like, but for the most part, it is for SEO, search engine optimization. Google loves the video content, but this is an audio show. This is not something for video, but it's there to help the show along the way. It's another subject, but I just want to let you know, if you wanted to look at what this logo is, here it is. And what you have here, as I describe it, is kind of like skulls. And from what I'm told, it's a Mexican thing. It's sugar skulls, edible and or decorative. So you can actually eat the skull. I guess that's what it is. And the design here is a bright color. We used a like baby blue type of thing with a red skull with the eyes popping out of it. What does that have to do with the snack of it? Actually, even though they're skulls, they look kind of happy. So it's a fun thing. The font that we use is kind of fun. the word snack pops out at you if you look at it. It's 300 by 300. It's colorful. It's an attention grabber. And to me, I think it looks fun. We can change it if we want to along the way, but right now I think we got it. And I'm looking at it for possible monetization later on, because this product with that background blue could be any color. I put this up against all different colors to see how it would look, and I could print this on mugs and hats and shirts and things like that. If the show takes off, it's basically a 2-color logo. We could probably even make it down to a 1-color logo if we had to, and it would be okay. Look at some of those things as you're putting it together, because we're looking at the back end to go to the front end. What happens if and when this is successful? And I'm banking on it's going to be successful. Why would you try to put together a podcast that you know is going to fail? I hope you're going in with the idea of this thing is going to be a slam dunk win. We are, certainly. I've handpicked my co-hosts. First, the producer. Very important, because we are not producing on set. The producer is to the side of us, and although he is at the side of us, he is going to jump in. He's going to be part of the show, and the co-host is Ed Sullivan. He's right here. Ed, jump in here.
All right. Hello, audience.
So you're going to be part of this new podcast, The Snack Authority.
I'm really looking forward to it. As some of your listeners may know, I'm producing the Cigar Authority right now, and I joined that relatively late, so I'm really looking forward to getting in early.
Yep.
And, I love the topic. I'm thinking as you're describing the sugar skulls, we'll have to eat those on one show.
We'll have to.
Why not?
If you're allowed to, we will. We will. So the producer is very important. A lot of times podcasters have they are the producer, the lead at the same time. If you were the host of this, Ed, very hard to be the producer and actually be the head host of it, because you got things you're doing, right?
I think it limits you somewhat. You want to start to think about how you're setting up some of your sound elements, because you can't be completely distracted with trying to run a soundboard while you're trying to concentrate on the topics at hand. And really, the content's more important than all the noises.
So what I'm thinking is, when the show ends up starting, that you're going to end up getting the music going and you're going to bring it on, and one of us that's left that's going to be here in the panel is going to take it from there, and as they go, then we're going to finally go to you after you've already maintained the levels, everything is good, you're comfortable, and the same on the back end before the show's ending, we hit to you first or something, and then leave you alone so that we can wrap up what we have to do, and you're able to concentrate on what you have to do.
I know from the format planning you've done, the show is planned to be formatted that way to take into account the participants.
There we go. So we're on the same page, and as far as being on the same page, we actually are on the same page when it comes to our age. We're relatively the same age, which is above the middle, I hate to say.
We're the end of the baby boomers, right?
Yeah, we're at the end. We're on the downswing. We're over the hump. We're over the hill. We're over 50 years old. So that's me and Ed Sullivan. And, boy, we could use some young people in this and have the younger people's perspective of the snack we're talking about, I think. We can't go back to just old fogey snacks from the old days, and that's all we do. We need a younger person in here. So we have a younger man, and he just turned 40 years old. So he loves snacks, and he's actually underweight, which really pisses me off because I'm the overweight one in here. He eats more snacks than I ever did, and he just doesn't gain a pound. His name is Mikey. We're going to have him on there, and he likes all snacks. He's willing to try anything, and he's going to be a big asset to have on here. In just turning 30 years old and weighing in just right as far as I'm concerned, and here she is off camera pointing at me, don't you dare, but just right, is a female. So having a female person in this is going to add to it also. Is this any different between a boy and a girl liking a certain snack than not? Does guys like spicy foods and the girl doesn't?
I think that then appeals to a larger demographic. We got somebody representing a whole bunch of people.
So we got the 30s, the 40s, and the 50s here, and we got the boys and we got the girls. So we got an action-packed group of snack authority people. We all eat snacks. We all love snacks. If you look at the group, it looks like I like snacks the most, but that's just because of size. But we're not going by size. I would say Mikey likes snacks more than anybody.
I would say definitely.
And he's the thinnest one of the group. So we're going to find out. 4 people are going to chime in about snacks every week, including Ed Sullivan, the producer, on the Snack Authority. The panel is picked, and now we're working on the layout of the show. Remember, I said I wanted the show to not take away from the most valuable asset that I have. And for me, it's time. Only 25 minutes a week. That's going to be the show. And it can't have a lot of prep time. No editing. So we're going to do this like we do this show and we do every other show. We're just going to do it. What we get is what we're going to get. And we're going to simply take it as it is. And we're going to pick a snack, a simple snack, maybe talk about the history of the snack, maybe read the back of the box, and of course, eat it. And then we're going to talk about what it tastes like, and if we like it or not. We might even throw a little monkey wrench into this. Something we just thought about before this show started. And we're going to tell you what that is and play you the intro of the show that we already produced. We're ready for it. And we'll tell you how we did that and a lot more. That's just 1 minute away. But first, this.
If you're in the area of Boston North into southern New Hampshire and you're thinking about doing a podcast, there is a place you have to see. It's called Studio 21 Podcast Café. Located right over the border into Salem, New Hampshire, Studio 21 Podcast Café is a live, working, full-service podcast and vodcast, that's video on demand, studio. All professional equipment, professional producer, and total distribution of your podcast is done for you. Would you like search engine optimization for more people to find your business or better ranking on Google? Well, Studio 21 Podcast Cafe can do it all for you for far less than you think. Schedule a free 21-minute no-obligation consultation by going to www.studio21podcast.cafe. That's studio21podcast.cafe. Now, back to the program.
And we are back, and today we're talking about the new podcast. We're putting a podcast together right in front of your ears. I've begun the process. We've begun putting together this new podcast from the very beginning, right in front of your ears. So let's see how this thing pans out. Remember, this is a do-over. Make it better than the previous podcast I did before. A highly successful podcast. Can I do it? Can lightning strike in a bottle twice? We're going to see. I got the new co-hosts. There's 4 of them all together, all who love snacks. They will be the Snack Authority. They're going to learn as they go on. There's no such thing as a Snack Authority until after the first episode. Then we will be the Snack Authority. They're different ages, and we got a girl in there too. We're going to keep the show down to 25 minutes because we do that because that is drive time for most people. And we want the attention to our listeners. We want them to tune in each and every week. We will be consistent that we'll put a show out every single week. And we're going to make it tighter and simple and easy format for us to not have to do a lot of work. Time is important to me. It's another podcast. I don't have all the time in the world. I'm a busy, busy guy. But I'm going to do this. It's going to be successful. I'm going to make money from it. And I'm going to show you how easy it is to do. I will, of course, have an intro. Something fun, maybe carnival-like we were thinking. We talked about this last week. And when I think of a snack, I think of carnivals or going to the circus or things like that. So that's the type of feeling that I wanted to happen here. Is it necessarily going to be a kid show? No, it's not going to be a kid show, but it should be that a kid could listen to the show and have no problem. I don't think we're going to put in rough language or anything like that. It's called the Snack Authority, so anybody can listen along. I need to look at royalty-free music, making sure I'm not going to use some fun song, my favorite song, that's going to actually hurt the podcast in the long run and take it off. We're not going to have any problems with that. We're looking royalty-free music. If you got it, use that type of royalty-free music to introduce your show. We have it. We've put it together. And we actually have a sample for you to listen to. This is our first take. I think we're going to go with it as it is. The first attempt, give it a play.
It's time for a crunch or two. It's time for a little something something. It's time for the Snack Authority. The Snack Authority. The authority on snacks. Snacks of all kinds. From the most common and wildly famous to the most obscure and unknown. The Snack Authority. Snacking all the time so you don't have to.
And notice how the intro just ended like that, so it made it very easy at that point. Our producer doesn't have anything to do at that point. We're just going to jump in, and we're going to introduce ourselves and talk about what we're going to do. Very simple, very quick, and it kind of lays out the feeling that we're looking for this show. Sounds fun to me. I think we got it. Remember, we can always change it as time goes on, but this is what we got. We're ready for that, moving on to the next step. A lot of times I see people, everything ends up being a slow process because they want it to be perfect. You know, we could do this, we could do that. The only way to improve the show is to start it. You got to start it to improve it. So we got to get this show on the road and going. The intro ends, it's time to talk, and we're ready to go. And then we have to actually eat. Then we're going to review it, maybe rate it, and people like numbers. So I'm thinking, and we still got time to think about it, I'm thinking of rating things by the number, the 1 to 100 scale. So if something is really good or something, it gets something into the 80s and 90s or something. If it's average, it gets into the 70s, and maybe a poor product will be into the 60s. Would that engage people to end up listening? Would that possibly even make the manufacturer be interested in getting a high rating and actually advertising for us? Imagine giving something like a 95 rating, and then the candy bar or the bag of potato chips or whatever says rated 95 by the Snack Authority or something. Wouldn't that be unbelievable? So yeah. I'm thinking this way ahead of the possibilities that could happen. Maybe it doesn't ever happen, but there's possibilities of that. And that's what we try to lay all these possibilities out. And whether it happens or not, we got a chance that something like that could happen and escalate us to heights that we wouldn't even believe. Sounds pretty simple? It can be. We're going to see. So we're looking for places to monetize it and to commercialize the ad. Maybe somebody ends up having their product on the show. They're happy to get it, gets a lot of attention. Maybe they want to become an advertiser for it. Another thing that I'm thinking about that's going to happen down the road. But the first thing we need to do is actually have listeners for the show. But it'll be a process. We went local and we visited a candy shop owner and told him that what the plan was, the idea of it. Got a local candy shop owner. Maybe if people are ordering candy or something, we can drive the business to them. Maybe we can work together in some way or another, and to see if there was interest there. Honestly, I don't think he got it. We're talking about another middle-aged male who probably not into podcasting. I didn't know a lot about it. He didn't seem to know a lot about it. He said he was going to send his wife over to come see, and we could explain it to her. That didn't happen. So what does that mean? It didn't happen. Oh, my God, let's scrap this whole thing. Oh, no, never. Next, we called a candy and snack distributor, and we set up a meeting. That meeting is actually tomorrow. So we're going to have them come here. We're going to talk about it. Who knows where it's going to go? That meeting is tomorrow. We'll see what happens, and then I'll report back to you on next week's show. Do I have a plan? Yes, I do. We are going to execute this, and we're going to move along. Do you have a plan, is the question. Do you need help on a plan? I'd love to work with you. I think I can help. Contact me at dave@studio21podcast.cafe. That's dave@studio, the number 21, podcast.cafe. Schedule a free 21-minute meeting with me. Let me show you the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe. We'll talk about your thoughts and plans, and I'll even buy you a cup of coffee. So next week, I'll tell you what happened to the meeting we're having with the snack distributor and where we are at on the show. I'm guessing we'll be completely ready and ready to start the show, but we'll see. That is my 21 minutes or less, and we are out of here. You've been listening to the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe, live from the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe on the United Podcast Network.
opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21 Podcast Café, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.